Dean Nunasia, faculty, students of the 2024 graduating class of Shaw, all the friends and family that are here today, and my husband, thank you all so very much for having me. It is a true, true honor to be here to speak to all of you. Aliki and Noah, those comments were spectacular. You brought tears to my eyes, so I'm trying to shake that off now that I'm up here to speak to everyone. And I'm hoping that in my few minutes to speak with all of you today, you take away one or two things that might help you as you embark on your amazing career in hospitality. So as Dean Anuja said, I have spent decades. I'll tell you a little more about that further in my comments. But when I was preparing to come and speak to all of you today, I said, let me look up the meaning of hospitality. I've been in it for so long, and I think I know what it is. But I want to read this to you. Here's what I found. And it says, at its core, extraordinary hospitality, and having listened to the both of you today and having heard so much about this graduating class. And by the way, this faculty has a tremendous amount of affection for every single one of you, no matter who I spoke to, told me that. So you are a very special graduating class. So at its core, extraordinary hospitality focuses on making others feel welcome, comfortable, and valued. It involves extending warmth, kindness, and generosity towards guests, visitors, or even strangers, creating an environment that fosters genuine human connection and a sense of belonging. I cannot think of a vocation or a field of study or a field of decades of working that could be any more special than that. Can you? How many, by a show of hands in this graduating class, always knew they wanted to be in hospitality? Okay, not many. That's great. You found a great vocation along your way. And then, how many of you want to be leaders within hospitality? That's your ambition. Well, that was mine too. So we all want to be in this industry. We all want to be leaders in this industry. You've learned that caring, especially being here as part of the Shaw community, is such a critical part of hospitality. So you already know that, and you already have that. And for all of my life, from probably the day I was born, I have felt exactly the same way. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, even though this day is all about you. Again, in the hope that you learn something from my journey, my incredible, wonderful journey. I come from a small fishing town 30 miles north of here, Gloucester, Massachusetts. Everybody that I grew up with had a dad, uncle, grandfather, cousin, brother that was a fisherman. It was Italian and Portuguese town. I am not Italian or Portuguese, and so my family did not make their living from fishing. My parents owned coffee shops and restaurants when I was growing up. So my first foray in hospitality was at 6 years old, because for some reason, I always wanted to get to work. And my mom was so sick of hearing me tell her that, she turned over a milk crate, and I was in the first grade, so I was learning math, addition and subtraction. So she stood me on that milk crate, and she let me make change for the customers who were coming in to get their coffee to go in our coffee shop. And then I knew I loved this. I loved engaging with people. I loved talking with them. I loved giving them their coffee and making them happy, and they loved chatting with me, so I knew I was a hospitality professional in the making. I learned leadership. Oftentimes I'm on panels and people will say, when did you know you were a leader? And I say with all sincerity, when I was 2 years old, because that's when my first sister was born. And from the minute that girl was born, I knew I was the boss. And I was going to tell her what to do, and I was going to help her and get her lunch ready for school and get her on that school bus. And oh my God, I was a pain in her butt. And then 14 years later, my second sister was born, and the same thing. And so at 14, my teen years was raising my other sister, who recently bought me a sign that said, "I'm not bossy, I just have better ideas." So sometimes you just know you're supposed to be a leader. The universe aligned around that. When I was in Catholic grade school, the teacher would have me watch the class when she left the room, the nuns back then. And then I helped teach my classmates the Palmer method of cursive writing. Of course, none of us write anymore, but back then it was a thing. And I know that all of my fellow students rolled their eyes and were a little over me as well. But that's sort of how I spent my formative years, and that's probably why, one of the reasons that I've had such an amazing career, because we all know what's inside us, don't we, from a very early age, and it's really up to us to use those things that are inside of us and maximize and optimize those opportunities as they come up throughout our lives. So I went to Bentley College and studied accounting, just like Dean and Eunasia. We studied accounting, and I remember, first of all, I waitressed, I bartended, I was in the kitchen, I dealt with some of those chefs, where you had to send them home because they were so darn mean. And I thought, okay, I need to get a real job. I need to find a real profession. So I went to school and studied accounting. And I would tell the people that I was, unlike I would tell people I was waiting on, they would say, what are you studying? And I would say accounting. And they're like, you're not going to be an accountant. And they were right. And so that education is phenomenal, and it has served me so well as I've led multi-billion-dollar brands, but it wasn't just who I was at the core of who I am. And so I went right back into hospitality in the hotel business for many years, probably 5 years, right here in Massachusetts in different locations. And then one day, I decided this really wasn't for me. The hotels were getting small. I was actually managing a nightclub at the time. And I was going to work at 3 in the afternoon, leaving work at 3 a.m., going out to breakfast with everyone I worked with and getting up and doing it all over again. And I thought, no, this really isn't for me. And then I was reading, and again, I'm going to date myself. I told you I started in hospitality at 6 years old. My age is public record because I was in a public company and I'm on the board of a public company. That's 61 years, so that's a long time. So I'm going to date myself right now and tell you I was in bed one Sunday morning reading the Help Wanted section of the Boston Globe, and I saw an ad for a cruise salesperson in a travel agency in downtown Boston, Crimson Travel at the time. And I remember saying to myself, what the heck? Why not? Sounds cool, sounds interesting. I've never done it before. And so I applied for that position and I got it. And as my career continued to unfold, a year later, this isn't really for me. And someone who worked for our cruise line came in and said their job was open and if I was interested, I should apply. And I did. Because I thought, wow, being in the cruise industry, work for a cruise line could be really cool. And that was the beginning of a 40-year career, working in an industry that was so diverse. Every member of our crew was on any ship at any time. You had 70 different nationalities, all working together, coming onto the ship as strangers and quickly becoming friends and taking care of each other and our guests. I went from sales rep to CEO. It took me 30 years. It was an incredible journey. It was a wonderful journey, but it was not easy. It was hard. I was in a male-dominated industry. And so for me to get into some of the different areas that I ended up responsible for was a huge feat. It took a lot of courage. It took persistence. It took learning. It took being uncomfortable and not knowing everything. I recently wrote a book. It's called Making Waves, and it's called A Woman's Rise to the Top, using smarts, heart, and courage. And if I had to leave you with 3 things today about what you really need to think about as you navigate your own wonderful career, mine is mostly behind me. Yours is all in front of you. Think about how you can use your amazing intelligence that you've gotten from from your degree, whether it's undergraduate or graduate degree. Use your heart. It is so important and so needed, and you all have it in spades. I can just tell from this class and everything I've heard. And then, most of all, use your courage. So when I was in sales, I had a career 17 years. How many of you have a plan of what you want to do in hospitality? You know exactly what you want to do. You know what job you want. You know where you're going to end up. Noah, that's awesome. You're the only hand. Okay, wait a minute, I have two now. All right, I have two. Well, that's okay, because one of the chapters in my book is not everyone has a plan, and neither did I. For 17 years, when I finally did have a plan, all I wanted to be was the head of sales, and then someone moved me into marketing, and I was devastated. But then I learned something new, and I approached it positively, and I spent 5 years learning marketing. And then 4 years later, somebody moved me into operations on a whole new brand after 21 years at the Royal Caribbean brand. And that's the first time that gender disparity hit me in the face. And it's only because different parts of different organizations, whichever one you're in, you might feel like you're the different person. For me, it happened to be based on my gender. For you, it could be some other reason. And I remember thinking, okay, I have to figure this out, because I wasn't accepted, I wasn't a subject matter expert, but I was chosen for other skills and other things that were important, like results, like leadership, like bringing people together, like the culture that I tried to create everywhere I was. And so as I was thinking about those things that I brought, and others were looking at me like, what are you doing here? Why did you get that job? And I didn't. I had to figure out how to convince them that I deserved what I got. Some of it was based on my gender, but some of it was based on what I had done prior to me getting there. And that was the first foray into that. And then I had to prove the skeptics wrong. And always think about that. Think about the opportunities that you can get that don't seem natural, that don't seem like they were part of your plan, but embrace them and figure them out and take them, look for them, because those opportunities are going to take you places you never thought you could go, like mine did. Mine was a very windy course. And then after that position, I was put into an executive vice president of operations role where I took over Marine, and the captains started looking at me and saying, why are you my boss? You've never driven a ship. And I had to look at them and say, you're right, I've never driven a ship. And I respect you for that. And I applaud you for that. And I need you to keep driving this ship and do it really well and keep all of our guests safe. But maybe you could give me the respect to say, maybe there's a reason I'm here, and maybe we can do this together. I learned, as another part of my smarts, that you don't need to know everything. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. Just surround yourself with really smart people, people that are invested in your success. Ask for help. Show vulnerability. It was amazing to me when I asked for help and admitted I didn't know everything, that those skeptics then wanted to help me. My colleagues wanted to help me. It's wonderful when someone else can be invested in your success and want to help you succeed. And then the other thing I will say is heart. When I came into operations, I realized heart was one of the critical components missing in our industry, in our company, in leading. And I wanted people to know that I genuinely cared about them. And you've used examples of genuinely caring as you've spoken today. And you know that that's what hospitality is. I read the definition, and you've just spent so many years studying and getting your degree in it. Care about the people you're leading. When they know you genuinely care, they will genuinely care back. That discretionary effort you are going to get because of that is going to be priceless. They are going to help you win. They are going to help you get the results you need. They're going to help you be the leader that you want to be. And the only other thing I would say in having heart is help others along the way. Bring people along with you. You're going to have great opportunity. You've got a great education. You're going to go into a great field. I know you're going to do extraordinarily well. But I remember a young man coming into my office. He was from Romania. He started on the ships as a busboy when he was 18 years old. And he walked into my office as the Associate Vice President shoreside of all of service. And he came in and he had tears in his eyes, and he said, how will I ever be able to thank you for making all my dreams come true? And I looked at him and said, do it for someone else. Give others the same opportunity you've been given and help them achieve all of their dreams. When I was able to promote the first and still only woman American captain of celebrity and in our industry, I was able to pay it forward as someone who was looking for opportunity that others didn't have on the operational side of our bridges. And I was able to work with my male counterparts who I adore and were so helpful to go from 3% of our crew on our bridges being women to 34% of the crew on our bridges being women. And that is certainly a story based on the fact that I am a woman, but it doesn't matter. It's how we create opportunities for others who haven't previously had them. I happen to have one example, and I know you'll have many along the way. Our industry is based on caring, human connections, diversity, kindness, warmth, making people feel welcome. There can be no better place to be. And the world is in such great need of that. And so are companies. It's amazing how many companies are looking for people with a hospitality background. That's how I'm on the board of an automobile company. They're looking for someone who understands the customer, cares about the customer, cares about customer loyalty. Heck, that's how I ended up as the CEO of the FIFA 2026 Men's World Cup in Miami. Thank you. You know, I talk about courage and wanting to do something different. I think I've taken it a little too far in my career, but the one thing that I will say is that when I finally had the courage to walk away from the company I was in for 39 years, in this role that I loved because I was kind of getting up there and thought it might be nice to take a little break and do something different and, you know, think about what the world had in store for me, this opportunity came along, and here I go again, learning something I know nothing about, surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, and committing myself to incredible success and being the envy of all the other host cities, even though Boston is one of them in 2026. And then I'll just tell you how that happened as I close my remarks. Never underestimate the connections that you're going to make and the kindness that you're going to show along the way. I happened to have dinner with a colleague's fiance, she's his wife now, because she was watching my career, was trying to navigate her own, and wanted to have dinner to understand, you know, what are some of the things she should be thinking about and doing as she was trying to grow professionally as well. And I had, as you can imagine, traveled a lot of dinners. It was the last thing I probably wanted to do other than just go home and be with my family. But because he's such a great guy and I wanted to show an act of kindness, I had dinner with her, fell in love with her. She was an amazing woman. And then after I stepped down from my CEO position at Celebrity, it was, I'll never forget the day, it was July 31st of last year, I got a text. And it was from her, and she said, "Do you have 5 minutes for me?" And she wanted to talk to me about this opportunity. And I was leaving the house in an hour to go on a big trip. I bought an African safari at a charity auction, and you know, we were headed to the airport in an hour. I said, "If you can get to me within an hour, sure, for you I will spare 5 minutes." And then this opportunity came up, and I said no a couple of times, but then I thought about it. Just think about when would you ever have this opportunity again to be part of something so historic, to meet people you've never met before, to be able to learn something new again, regardless of how old you are or if you think your career is behind you. So never forget that the connections that you make and the networking you do are invaluable as you navigate your own careers and go through life and learn different things. Try to give back, try to make a difference, try to show people you care, try to create cultures and be a part of a culture that is really strong. This industry is so rewarding, it can take you so far, and the things you're going to be able to give back at a time where that is so greatly needed is all in your unbelievably great hands. I am so excited for you. I wish you all the best. I will tell you that this industry that you've chosen and vocation you have chosen is full of amazing opportunity, and you never know what's going to be around the corner. So go for it. Dream big, never give up, be persistent. I was told no when I asked for a president and CEO role 3 times, and it was frustrating. And I was a little resentful, but I used it all in a positive way, and I kept going back until I turned that no into a yes. So spend your lives turning a no into a yes. I wish you Godspeed, I wish you good luck, and my sincere congratulations to all of you.